You walk into a gym, take a walk through the park, or perhaps you are simply relaxing on the beach, and then you notice it. A woman in leggings that fit like a second skin, or in shorts that leave almost nothing concealed. Before you can stop yourself, your eyes drift downward and fixate on that specific area. In that instant, your mind briefly shuts down. Your first reaction is to look away immediately, so you do not appear crude, inappropriate, or disrespectful. Your second reaction is a question that strikes with precision. Does she not understand how this looks? Has she never seen herself in the mirror? Now, I am going to tell you the truth, and it may both unsettle and free you. She does not just notice it, she relies on it. The idea that this is purely about comfort is a convenient illusion. What we are witnessing is a widespread, socially accepted form of exposure that carries a strong psychological effect, one that is used daily. Today, we are not only going to examine this phenomenon, I am going to give you a key, one that allows you to read this form of visual signaling as easily as you read the news. You will no longer be an awkward observer, but someone who understands what is happening beneath the surface. We will break down the 5 primary reasons behind this behavior. The 5th reason, the most critical one, goes beyond simple attention seeking. It functions as a deliberate filter, a calculated mechanism, which I will explain at the end of this video. However, a warning is necessary. If you stop watching halfway through, you will only understand part of the picture. The full explanation comes at the end. Before we begin, take a moment to like this video, and if this is your first time here and you are serious about gaining real insight, subscribe now. One last thing before we go deeper. I am genuinely curious about our audience. Please share in the comments which city you are watching from. It helps us understand where our content reaches the most. Part 1. The biology of the male gaze, why men are wired to look. To understand her motivations, you must first understand yourself without self-deception. Why does your attention move so precisely to this area, almost automatically? The answer is direct and uncompromising. It is not a flaw in your character, it is built-in programming. Millions of years of evolution have shaped the male brain into a highly efficient scanner. Its primary function is to evaluate reproductive potential. The focal point of this scan is what can be called the triangle of life, the pelvis, the hips, and the lower abdomen. This is precisely where the key biological markers reside, signaling your subconscious about the most critical factors: youth, health, and fertility. This is not a poetic metaphor, it is a factual, scientific reality. Anthropologists identify the waist to hip ratio as a crucial metric. An ideal ratio of around 0.7 is subconsciously recognized by the male brain as a sign of hormonal balance and reproductive capability. These are general indicators, but the strongest, most concentrated signal comes from the center of this area. A clearly defined contour, emphasized by tight clothing, is undeniable proof of peak fertility to the subconscious mind. It signals youth, a healthy endocrine system, and the absence of excess fat, which could indicate illness or age. Your attention is drawn to it not because of cultural conditioning, but because your internal biology, shaped over tens of thousands of generations, is programmed to identify and focus on the best genetic material for reproduction. This reflex is as instinctive as hunger or sleep. Ignoring it goes against your natural instincts. Women, on an instinctual level, understand this far more keenly than any academic psychologist. They sense the power of this signal and deliberately leverage it. Here arises a logical question. If she is clothed, why does it appear as though she is nearly naked? This leads us to a clever deception in modern fashion, which I term the phantom nudity effect. Despite the complexity of the brain, it prefers simple, clear signals, dressed or undressed. Historically, clothing functioned as a physical and social barrier. Thick layers and loose garments sent complex visual cues that required analytical processing by the higher brain areas responsible for social norms. But when a woman wears thin, elastic leggings, she subverts this system. The fabric exists, yet it no longer functions as a barrier. Instead of concealing, it emphasizes the body's contours. The brain receives contradictory signals. The eyes see clothing, but pattern recognition registers the detailed shape of a naked body. In this conflict, the older, more powerful signal prevails, the signal of nudity. This is a perceptual hack. To your subconscious, she appears naked, yet legally, socially, and practically, she remains clothed. Through this, she projects the most potent sexual signal without violating social norms, gaining psychological advantage while avoiding accountability. Leggings act as camouflage, paradoxically making the body even more noticeable and provocative. She exploits a perceptual gray zone to its fullest. Now that we understand why your gaze is involuntarily drawn, we can examine the core question. Why does she allow this? What is her true objective? We will begin with the most cynical explanation. This has nothing to do with seduction. It is purely about power psychology. Part 2, Female Psychology, 5 Reasons for the Display. Reason 1. Narcissistic supply. Think of it like a vampire. But instead of blood, she feeds on emotions, specifically your desire. This is the first and most common reason behind her behavior. Generally, she doesn't care about you as a man, a person, or a potential partner. To her, you are simply a mirror reflecting her own desirability. In psychology, this is known as seeking narcissistic supply. A woman motivated this way has a deep inner hunger, a void she attempts to fill with external validation of her significance. Your attention, which you try to conceal, becomes her currency, her sustenance. She isn't after sex, she's after admiration. Consider a concrete example. She enters a gym. She won't pick a quiet corner. She positions herself in the center, in the area with the most visibility. Her movements are slightly more pronounced, the arch of her back more deliberate, her stretches more noticeable. She isn't focusing on her fitness, she is creating a stage and placing herself in the spotlight. Rather than looking directly at men, she monitors their reactions through reflections in the mirrors. A fleeting glance, the frozen gaze of a man on the treadmill, the heavy breathing of someone lifting weights. She collects these reactions like trophies. Each glance is a micro-dose of dopamine, momentarily filling the void and reinforcing her sense of power. I am the queen. They desire me, but they cannot have me. This is a form of light psychological sadism. She derives intense pleasure from your unfulfilled desire. She thrives on your attention while remaining emotionally untouchable. Do you see the mechanics? She does not want you. She wants you to want her. These are two entirely different dynamics. That is why she may respond with cold contempt if you reveal too much interest. It seems paradoxical, but it's intentional. She provokes yet punishes your reactions because, in her game, you are meant to be a spectator, admiring the actress without stepping onto the stage. If you attempt to cross that line, you violate her rules and she reasserts her position, publicly demonstrating your overstep. Your role is to serve as a silent source of energy, nothing more. The more men around her act like walking complements, the stronger she feels her power. Reason 2, a signal of fertility now. Let's move to a deeper, more primal level, a place beyond ego and social games, where pure biology rules. Tight clothing that doesn't just highlight, but actively emphasizes the female anatomy, is one of the oldest and most honest signals there is. It is a silent declaration of her nature. I am in my prime, I am healthy, I am ready to reproduce. It functions as a biological advertisement of her genetic value. In the animal kingdom, females signal readiness to mate through physical cues like swollen genitals, distinctive scents, or bright coloration. In human society, where cultural and moral layers obscure such signals, clothing has become the modern language of instincts. When fabric contours to the body, it draws attention to the center of female power, often consciously, sometimes unconsciously. This visual cue communicates firmness, youthfulness, and healthy circulation in the pelvic area, qualities that the subconscious interprets as high-quality genetic material. She isn't just displaying an aesthetically pleasing body part, she's signaling reproductive potential in its most concentrated form. This message bypasses your rational mind and speaks directly to the reptilian brain, the part responsible for survival and reproduction. That's why the effect is hypnotic, bypassing logic filters like "I'm married" or "this is inappropriate." It doesn't matter if she is brilliant or superficial, your subconscious sees one thing: a healthy, fertile organism. This is nature's most potent aphrodisiac. Essentially, this is a modern evolution of an ancient ritual. In the past, women wore corsets to accentuate a small waist and wide hips. Today, leggings achieve the same purpose more directly and effectively. It's optimized signaling, the 21st century form of female biological strategy. Why hint when you can show? Reason 3, competition with other women. Men often misinterpret this. They assume a woman dresses for them, but 9 times out of 10, she dresses for other women. Revealing clothing is less about attracting men and more about asserting dominance in a female hierarchy. Imagine women in groups, at work, at the gym, on the beach. In these packs, there's always a silent struggle for status, for recognition as the most valuable female. In a modern world where traditional markers like family background or a husband's wealth have diminished, the body has become the main battlefield. By wearing leggings that leave little to the imagination, she achieves multiple objectives at once. She shows her physique, silently telling other women, "Look at me, no cellulite, firm muscles. My body is youthful and strong. What can you show in comparison?" This is a clear display of dominance. Through physical superiority, she compels her rivals to measure themselves against her, and they usually fall short. This sparks envy and insecurity in them, emotions that serve as proof of her elevated status. Next, she marks her territory. By showcasing her sexual appeal to its fullest, she effectively claims the attention of every man within sight. Like a powerful magnet, she draws their gaze, leaving other women in the background. This strikes directly at her rival's self-esteem. For a woman, few things are more disheartening than fading into invisibility beside someone more radiant. Men in this context are not the objective, they are a resource, a symbol of one woman's triumph over another. This is why women often regard each other with barely concealed hostility. They scrutinize every detail, every flaw, every fold, every stitch. The woman who dresses boldly and whose physique comes closest to the ideal automatically assumes a higher position in this unspoken Hierarchy. So when you observe her, remember, you are merely a tool, a participant in her ongoing competition with peers. This level of insight is what you will consistently find in my videos. If this is the perspective you've been seeking, now is the perfect moment to subscribe. Reason 4, safe exhibitionism. Now, let's explore an aspect rarely discussed, the shadow side of female psychology that Freud so astutely revealed. Even the most demure-looking women often harbor a suppressed desire, a fantasy of being seen, caught off guard, experiencing a heady mix of shame and arousal as someone observes their vulnerability or nudity. In ordinary life, this fantasy is taboo. Acting on it could be socially catastrophic or even criminal, yet it remains buried deep within the subconscious, seeking expression. Modern fashion has created a brilliant outlet. The gym, the beach, or sunlit streets become stages for a socially acceptable performance, a way to live out this forbidden scenario. By wearing leggings that reveal rather than conceal, she enacts the fantasy safely. She is partially exposed yet fully clothed, presenting herself publicly while retaining ability to shift blame for perceived impropriety onto the viewer. She experiences the intoxicating cocktail of risk, shame, and empowerment she secretly craved without ever breaking the law. As she walks, dozens of eyes follow her, and she knows exactly what is being seen. In that moment, she feels an inner thrill, the forbidden pleasure of breaking a social taboo. It is a delicate game on the edge, like walking on a razor's edge that excites her senses. This is her way of releasing built-up psychological tension, letting her inner desires roam freely, but within socially acceptable limits. This is not about seeking a partner. It is her private, intimate theater, where she is both the actress and the director. You are merely a spectator, and your reaction forms a part of her performance. Your embarrassed or captivated expression becomes the applause, confirming the success of her act. Yet even this clever psychological maneuver pales in comparison to the calculated strategy behind the fifth main reason, a reason that turns her clothing into a powerful attention magnet for men. Part 3. Typology of display. What her style communicates. Not all revealing outfits send the same signal. With experience, one can detect subtle differences like fingerprints that reveal more about a woman than she might intend. Broadly, there are two types of such displays: accidental and deliberate. Understanding the difference is key to interpreting her intentions. Type accidental. This is the most common type. It appears she simply chose comfortable leggings without considering the effect. Her hair may be in a messy bun, makeup minimal, possibly engrossed in a phone conversation or listening to music. Her posture and overall aura radiate relaxation and self-absorption. The signal is present, but it does not seem aimed at anyone in particular. This can indicate a few things. She may genuinely prioritize comfort and is unconcerned with how others perceive her. Male attention is not her focus. This may reflect a light, carefree character or a stable, long-term relationship where she no longer feels the need to impress. Her clothing is simply background. Alternatively, it could be a subtle, calculated camouflage. She wants to appear simple so that her revealing look does not seem vulgar or aggressive. This approach creates the impression of naturalness and innocence, which can be a powerful trigger for many men. Essentially, she is signaling, "I am not a predator, I am just myself." Beneath this apparent simplicity may lie a highly strategic mind employing a more intricate, indirect tactic. By projecting the girl next door image, she lowers vigilance and reduces perceived threat. Type deliberate. This is a different scenario entirely. Here, nothing is accidental. Every element of her appearance is intentional. She wears underwear or leggings with cuts that do more than fail to conceal. They accentuate and exaggerate specific contours. These pieces are often from premium, well-known sports brands that capitalize on provocative design as part of their marketing strategy. Every detail of her outfit sends a deliberate message. She is in control, and her intent is clear. Her walk carries a smooth, noticeable sway of the hips. She maintains eye contact slightly longer than usual. She isn't listening to music. She is attuned to her surroundings, actively observing. This is no longer a subtle signal. It's a clear, unmistakable statement. She is on the hunt. Her expression radiates sexual energy and confidence, demanding an outlet. She knows herself, embraces her body, and isn't seeking approval. Instead, she seeks an equal partner, unafraid of her directness and sexuality. Her presence is a challenge. Here I am in my full glory. Can you handle me? Such a woman doesn't play guessing games. Her message is unmistakable. I am here. I am ready. I know what I want. Do you? Responding to this challenge requires a deliberate approach. Any display of weakness or insecurity will be perceived as failure. This brings us to a critical point: male strategy, how to respond and succeed. When you notice her, whether her signal is subtle or overt, your instincts react immediately. Blood rushes, pupils dilate, and rational thought temporarily shuts down. At that moment, you face a choice. One path leads to submission, the other to mastery. Unfortunately, 99% of men fall into the first trap, making a predictable error, the hungry puppy look. Most men respond by staring, a clear display of weakness. Let's analyze this like a forensic examination. There are two common variations. The first is the predator look, brazen, overt ogling. The man believes he is showing dominance and sexual interest, but in reality he is signaling, I am ruled by my instincts, not my intellect. She perceives not a strong man, but a reactive animal. It is predictable, boring, and most importantly, unsafe. A woman instinctively knows that a man unable to control his desire cannot control anger, fear, or cowardice in real danger. He is dismissed. The second, the mouse look, is even weaker. Furtive, hesitant glances. He looks and, when noticed, quickly averts his eyes. He is driven by fear. He feels embarrassed by his own impulses. Through his behavior, he sends a clear message: I want you, but I am intimidated by you. You have control over me, and I accept it. Without resistance, he hands over all authority before anything even begins. To a woman, such a man barely exists. He is not only weak, but also deceptive, because he attempts to conceal that weakness. Instead of attraction, he triggers repulsion. Whether he appears as a hunter or as prey, he silently agrees to submission through his gaze. He willingly turns himself into a source of narcissistic validation. He gives away his energy, his focus, and his admiration, while receiving nothing in return except a patronizing smile or distant disdain. He reveals that his primal urges dominate his intellect. A woman will never respect, and therefore never desire. A man she can manipulate through his own instincts. This is a basic law of nature that cannot be circumvented. This is the king's strategy, now the correct approach. A path that does not merely disrupt her script, but completely deletes it and makes her operate by your rules. This is a method of total inner control that expresses itself through outward behavior. It consists of 3 micro-precise steps that must be performed as one smooth, continuous action. Step 1. Notice. Do not pretend you see nothing. Ignoring is still a response. It is a response rooted in fear. It silently communicates, "Your signal is so powerful that I'm afraid to even acknowledge it. You must look, but in the right way." Your gaze should be calm, like a surgeon observing a patient. No emotion, no desire, no judgment. It is simply an acknowledgement of reality. It lasts exactly 1 second, no longer. With this, you communicate without words. "Yes, I see." The signal is registered and processed by your mind, not by your instincts. Step 2. Evaluate. Within that same second, while your eyes are still there, a subtle, almost unnoticeable half-smile appears. This is the most critical element. It is not the crude grin of a man anticipating conquest. It is the composed, confident smile of someone appreciating a piece of art. It says, "I recognize the aesthetics. It is attractive, but it does not disturb my balance." This expression strips her provocation of its power as a weapon. You demonstrate the ability to separate visual appreciation from raw desire. You can enjoy what you see without becoming enslaved by it. This is a stance of strength, a stance of abundance. Yes, it is attractive. But in your world there are many attractive things, and none of them control you. Step 3. Shift your gaze. This is the decisive move in this brief exchange. Smoothly, without any abrupt motion, you confidently move your gaze from her body directly to her eyes. You look at her calmly, maintaining that same faint half-smile. That's it. The interaction is over, and you prevail. Why is this so effective? Because you moved the encounter from the animal level, her body, to the human level, her personality. You showed that beneath the provocative exterior, you recognize a conscious individual, a participant in the game. You compel her to engage on your terrain, the realm of logic and willpower, where you have just displayed complete command. What happens in her mind at that moment is a total disruption. She anticipated either embarrassment or desire, both signs of vulnerability, and instead encountered calm evaluation and absolute control. Out of countless men, you are the one who did not fall into the pattern. You communicated clearly, "I see your strategy, I see your body, but my mind governs my instincts. I am in control." And that unsettles her deeply. This is the kind of man who represents a biological prize to her. Right now, we are ready to reveal why this strategy is the ultimate key to unlocking the 5th main door in the labyrinth of female psychology, the final piece, the hidden trap for the alpha. We have already examined 4 powerful motives: the thirst for attention, the biological signal, rivalry, and the allure of the forbidden. Yet beneath these lies a deeper, subtler reason. This reason transforms revealing clothing from a simple signal into a complex selection mechanism, a test by fire that evaluates the quality of a man's character. It is, in essence, the trap for the alpha. Consciously or not, a woman continually assesses the men around her. Evolution has hardwired this process over millions of years, when choosing the wrong partner could mean death for herself or her offspring. She isn't simply seeking the most handsome or the wealthiest man. Those are mere resources. She is seeking the root quality, inner strength. She looks for a man with a steel core, someone who can control himself and therefore control the situation, protect her and her future children in a chaotic world. Her challenging gaze acts as the perfect, unforgiving test of male strength. Do you see the brilliance and the cruelty of this trap? She presents the most potent bait known to man, her bold, overt sexuality. It strikes directly at the reptilian brain, bypassing reason. A weak man, a beta, sees only the bait, instinct takes over, rationality shuts down, he falls for lust, staring mindlessly, becoming merely a resource. He fails the test, his actions signal, I am easy to manipulate, my instincts dominate me. To her, this indicates he will falter in a crisis, betray in danger, and succumb to temptation. He is unreliable and dismissed, a strong man, an alpha, sees beyond the bait, he sees the fisherman holding the rod, the full structure, the game itself. He understands that this is not an invitation, but an exam. He reacts as described in the king's strategy. He notices the bait, admires its beauty, but does not lose his composure. Instead, he meets the gaze of the fisherman and, with calm assurance, silently communicates, "Nice try, impressive game, but I am not a fish. I am a fisherman like you." He is the rare man who passes the test that filters out 99% of competitors. This reaction sends a clear, powerful signal. A man who can control primal instincts when confronted with the strongest trigger possesses self-discipline, willpower, and high rank. He remains composed and therefore reliable. This is precisely the man she has been seeking all her life. Her provocation is not merely a trap, it is a gift. It allows a strong man to reveal himself while filtering out the weak, saving her time and energy. The conclusion is profound. Female clothing is not just fabric. It is a message, a complex code communicating her fears, desires, ambitions, and strategy. And now you hold the key to deciphering it. You now hold the complete map of the game. You are no longer a blind player, reacting instinctively to every flash of attention. You are a strategist, a grandmaster who anticipates moves 10 steps ahead. You can recognize who stands before you, a narcissist craving validation, a woman actively seeking, a participant in female rivalries, or a calculated huntress in search of a strong partner. You are no longer just a piece in her game. You have become an equal player. Most importantly, you have discovered the key not to controlling her, but to mastering yourself. You have achieved freedom from your own impulses, and a man liberated from these inner chains becomes genuinely powerful. This is the most valuable insight you could gain today. Today, we explored the 5 primary motives behind female display. Now the question for you, thoughtful viewer, based on your personal experience, which of these 5 motives do you encounter most frequently in life? Share the number and, if you wish, a brief explanation in the comments. Let's build a real collection of male wisdom under this video and uncover the true statistics together.